My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day, waiting for a long time. April 2nd, 2025 will forever be remembered as the day American industry was reborn, the day America's destiny was reclaimed, and the day that we began to make America wealthy again. We're going to make it wealthy, good and wealthy.
This is my video update on this Thursday afternoon, coming to you from Nicosia, Cyprus. Let's talk about some news. And yesterday was Liberation Day. Liberation Day, everybody. It came and it went. The most important day on the calendar. Liberation Day. How was your Liberation Day? My Liberation Day was pretty calm, actually. It wasn't as wild and crazy as Liberation Days in the past. But wow, what a day, Liberation Day. So the Trump administration, they announced tariffs. Tariffs on the world. Well, most of the world. Russia was not on that tariff list, nor was Belarus. Ukraine got tariffed, but they got the baseline tariff of 10%. So there were three tiers, or three announcements of tariffs. The first tariff announcement was the baseline tariff of 10%, which is what every country got. Most every country got 10% baseline tariff. You then had the reciprocal tariffs, which were tariffs above the 10%. I'm not sure what the formula was for the reciprocal tariff numbers, but each country was treated individually and they received a certain tariff percentage, a tariff amount. So for example, the EU got 20%, which is going to hurt. That is going to really, really hurt the EU in a big way. A European Union that is already in recession, that is deindustrializing, that is isolated, that has cut off Russia. This is going to be very, very painful for the European Union. But other countries in Asia, they also got hit very hard. I believe Vietnam got a 46% tariff, I want to say. China, I believe, was at 34%. India, that one surprised me. India also got a pretty high tariff number. I believe 28% or 26%. Vietnam, 46%, China 34%, Taiwan got 32%, Japan got 24%, South Korea got 25%, Thailand got 36%, Indonesia 32%, Malaysia 24%, Cambodia 49%, South Africa 30%, Pakistan 29%. So yeah, the tariffs, they definitely hit the EU hard, because of the European Union's economic position. 20%, that's going to hurt. And Asia got hit hard as well. Vietnam, Nike, I believe, has a lot of factories in Vietnam. Nike shoes are going to get very expensive, huh? But then again, Nike is already pretty expensive. It's already a $150 or $200 sneaker. So what's another $100 on top of that? What's another $100 for some Air Jordans? But yeah, there's going to be inflation, no doubt about it. It's going to be very painful in the short term, possibly even the medium term, maybe for a couple of years. Prices are going to get expensive. And then you had a third tier, by the way. So you had the baseline, you had the reciprocal, and then you have the auto tariffs, and those go into effect today. Tariffs on automobiles of 25%. And then on May 3rd, you have the tariffs on auto parts, which go into effect. So that was the big tariff announcement, Liberation Day. The reason for Liberation Day, according to the Trump administration, is for onshoring, to bring manufacturing back to the United States. Of course, if you're operating in the United States, if you're making the stuff in the United States, there are going to be no tariffs. And the other reason is for some equality, according to the Trump administration. If a country is putting tariffs on the United States, Trump says, well, then we should put tariffs right back at them. I believe the EU was at 40% tariffs or 35% tariffs on American products, American goods. And so Trump, they came up with the number of 20%. So that's the reasoning that the Trump administration gave for Liberation Day. And a lot of people are wondering, why not tariffs on Russia? Well, the Trump administration, the Treasury Secretary, said that Russia is already being sanctioned, and there's also not much trade that is happening between the United States and Russia. I believe the trade between the U.S. and Russia is between 3 and 5 billion, but there's another reason why you do not put tariffs on Russia, and that is because whatever is traded between the United States and Russia, it's stuff that the United States really, really needs. Stuff that is actually exempt from Liberation Day tariffs. We're talking about energy, fertilizers, stuff like that. And that's what Russia trades with the United States. So that stuff was exempt from tariffs. So one way that the Trump administration, and this is a possibility. This could happen, and this may give us a hint into the negotiations between the United States and Russia. One thing that the Trump administration might do to offset the inflation caused by Liberation Day is to lift certain tariffs against Russia. To lift certain sanctions against Russia. That way you would bring down the price of energy, of oil, for example, and that could kind of offset the increase in prices on all the other things, on Nike Air Jordans, for example. So that's one method that Trump may use to offset the inflation that, without a doubt, is going to be coming because of the tariffs. So keep that in mind as the United States is allegedly normalizing relations with Russia. Perhaps another reason why tariffs were not placed on Russia, and another indication that the United States may lift sanctions against Russia, is to offset this Liberation Day tariff strategy. So that's also possible. Of course, you could look at it from the other direction, and this is something that Alexander mentioned in a video that we recorded for the Duran, which will go up this evening. You can look at it from the other side and make the argument that Trump did not place sanctions on tariffs on Russia so that he can keep the slate clear, so that as he's negotiating with Russia, he can add on sanctions for leverage. So he doesn't place any tariffs on Russia because perhaps he wants to place more sanctions on Russia in the future as they're negotiating. So could go both ways, I guess, the reasoning why there were no tariffs placed on Russia. But the two simplest reasons are, and the two obvious reasons are, there are already sanctions on Russia, so there's no reason to place tariffs, and the low trade between Russia and and the United States. So that is Liberation Day. The European Union is very, very upset. Ursula came out, guns a-blazing. she's ready to strike back. Ursula strikes back. That's right. She is going to retaliate, and the reports are that the European Union is going to retaliate with one shot. They're just going to come at the United States with one big retaliatory tariff package, focusing most likely on services. And Ursula gave a speech replying to Trump's Liberation Day tariffs. And she talked about how Europeans are disappointed because Europe's most trusted, most special ally, the United States, has decided to place tariffs against the European Union, but Europe will remain united, and an attack on one of us is an attack on all of us. And tatters, we've got tools. It was one of Ursula's standard EU speeches that she always gives.
I know that many of you feel let down by our oldest ally. Yes, we must brace for the impact that this will inevitably have. Europe has everything it needs to make it through the storm. We are in this together. If you take on one of us, you take on all of us. So we will stand together and stand up for each other. Our unity is our strength. Europe has the largest single market in the world, 450 million consumers. That is our safe harbor in tumultuous times. And Europe will stand at the side of those directly impacted. We have already announced new measures to support the steel and cars sectors. Now, we will also convene strategic dialogues with the steel, the automotive, and the pharmaceutical sectors, and others will follow. Europe stands together for our business, for our citizens, and for all Europeans.
But Medvedev, he came out with his reply to the Liberation Day tariffs, and this is what he posted on X. As it is, Russia barely does any trade with the US and EU. Nearly all of it is under sanctions. Yet, our economy is growing 3% now. We'll take the advice of Lao Tzu and sit by the river, waiting for the body of the enemy to float by, the decaying corpse of the EU economy. Yeah. I don't know how I feel about tariffs. I have to be honest with everybody. I don't know how I feel about Liberation Day tariffs. But I will say this. Watching the EU globalist elite freak out in this way, I don't know. It makes me believe that tariffs may not be so bad, actually. You know that if the globalist European elite are freaking out, then something must be good about this tariff policy. Trump, by the way, when he was talking about tariffs against the European Union, he said that the EU tariffs against the United States, he said they're pathetic. He used those words, pathetic. Trump hits pathetic Europe with 20% tariffs. That's the title from Politico. Europe slams illegal Trump tariffs, vows unified response. Citizens of the EU feel let down by our oldest ally. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen says, warning that the bloc is prepared to respond. She speaks as if the European Union is a sovereign country, right? Our oldest ally. She actually believes the European Union is its own sovereign country. Oh, Ursula von der Crazy. So what else should we say about tariffs, or is that it? I think that's enough about the Liberation Day tariffs. The end of globalization. That is how Alexander phrased it. Watch the Duran video. It'll be up in a couple of hours on the Duran channel. Alexander said that the Trump Liberation Day tariffs are effectively the end of globalization, and he makes the point that if this is the end of globalization, well, this is the end of institutions like the European Union, which exists because of globalization. A very good point. That's why they're freaking out, the European globalist elite. So Kellogg is back. Keith Kellogg is back, and he is better and badder than ever. Keith Kellogg, he was on Fox News, and he was talking about a 30-day general ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine. That's right. We're not talking about an energy ceasefire. We're not talking about a Black Sea ceasefire. Kellogg was talking up a 30-day general ceasefire. He said that we are closer than ever. Ukraine and Russia are very close to sitting at the table and agreeing to a general ceasefire. And then Kellogg said that both sides are going to have to make concessions. That is what Keith Kellogg told Fox News. Ukraine conflict on precipice of ceasefire, Trump envoy. Neither side will get everything it wants, Keith Kellogg has argued. The diplomat, nevertheless, said that he remained optimistic that Trump's team would negotiate an end to the conflict. I really believe we are on the precipice of getting to a ceasefire, he said. Neither side is going to get everything they want. What we want to have is a comprehensive 30-day ceasefire. Once you get there, it's going to be really hard to restart the war, Kellogg said. What we need is what I would call term sheets. This is what the Russians want. This is what the Ukrainians want, and bring them together. When did the Russians ever say that they are looking for a term sheet? When did Russia ever mention the word term sheet? Never. Never, ever, ever has Russia said what we really want in order to end the conflict in Ukraine is a term sheet. No. What does Kellogg know what the Russians want? Kellogg, to this day, Kellogg has not had a meeting with the Russian side. He's not traveled to Russia. He's not been to Moscow. He's not sat down with a Russian official, at least not that I know of. What does he know about what Russia is looking for? Kellogg is working on the side of the EU and Ukraine. He is working with them. He's not on the side of Trump or the United States. He's on the side of the neocon United States. And he's working with the Ukrainians and with the Europeans so that they can push this bogus ceasefire plan, which is a plan which he wrote up back in April of 2024. And he's sticking to that plan. Yeah, Russia is looking for a term sheet. That's what they're looking for. Keith Kellogg. Oh my God. Oh my God. So yeah, that's Kellogg. He's back giving interviews to Fox News. And Witkoff met with Dmitriev in the United States, in DC. And they're talking business. Dmitriev is the man in charge of investments for Russia, international investments. And Witkoff is one of the negotiators between the United States and Russia. Notice how Kellogg is talking about Russia and Ukraine, and he's positioning the United States as the mediator. No, Kellogg. No. I suggest you read the New York Times article that came out a couple of days ago. You are not the mediator. You are very much a part of this conflict. And Witkoff, he is negotiating between the United States and Russia. And this is the two tracks that I was talking about yesterday. The one track is the ceasefire track. And that is Kellogg, that is Waltz, the Europeans, Elensky. They're pushing the three-phase ceasefire, unconditional ceasefire track. The other track is the normalization of relations. Let's do some business. And that is Witkoff. And Witkoff sat down with the Russian business representative in DC. The United States lifted sanctions on Dmitriev so that he could travel to the US, and they talked business. We don't have details as to what exactly was discussed, but I have a feeling that this was a very important meeting. It was in the White House, from what I understand, and I would not be surprised if Trump was at this meeting. I would not be surprised at all if Trump was attending this meeting. Keep in mind that Witkoff, he has, unlike Kellogg, Witkoff has met all parties involved in these negotiations. He's part of the U.S. delegation. He sat down with the Ukrainians. He sat down with the Russians. He's actually met Russian President Vladimir Putin, and now he has met Dmitriev. I believe this is the second time that he's met Dmitriev. The first time was in Saudi Arabia during the first negotiations, and now you have the U.S. White House meeting. So unlike Kellogg, Witkoff is actually engaging in real negotiations. He's actually speaking to people, and that's a good sign. This is a good sign. This may be an indication that perhaps, just perhaps, I'm not saying this is the case, I'm just taking a guess here. Perhaps the whole ceasefire thing is some sort of a feint, some sort of a fake out. Keep the Europeans busy. Keep Elensky busy. Keep 008, License to Bore You Stormer busy with all of this ceasefire talk. Mike Waltz, keep Mike Waltz busy. So they're talking about a ceasefire, and they're engaged with this ceasefire plan, which is going nowhere. While the real negotiations are on a business track with Witkoff. Maybe that could be what's going on here. We'll find out. Anyway, important meeting. I don't think it's getting enough attention in the media, but it should. It definitely should. The fact that Kellogg is out there talking about a ceasefire, I don't know, it leads me to believe that the whole ceasefire thing is a fake out. Perhaps it's a fake out. This is beautiful, huh? Oh, that's pretty. It's a rundown stadium, a very rundown stadium, a gravel soccer football pitch. It's the American in me, soccer, football, gravel football pitch, but that's nice. That part is nice. All right, let's also talk about the fact that Hegseth is not going to be attending the next big Ukraine meeting, the military commanders meeting, which is going to take place on April 11th in Brussels. This is the first meeting that the United States is not going to take part in. The last meeting, the U.S. gave up the chair position to the UK, and Hegseth's not going to show up to this. And from what I understand, the U.S. is not even going to send a representative to this meeting. What does that tell you? Something is going on. There's some sort of misdirection, or there's some sort of game that's being played. I don't know. In first, Hegseth to skip multinational meeting on Ukraine support. The first time that the U.S. is not going to show up to this thing. Meanwhile, the Green Goblin continues to play Churchill. He's talking about this big meeting that's going to take place over the weekend with representatives of the UK and France. Military officials and military planners are going to be in Kiev from the UK and France, and they're going to talk about the next steps for the coalition of the losers, the coalition of the willing. They're not losers, they're winners. The coalition of the willing. Stormer is a winner. Macron is a winner. The real leaders, Keir Starmer and little Napoleon Macron. Anyway, they're going to be in Kiev, and they're going to be talking about what is next for the coalition of the willing. And Elensky, he laid it all out in a statement that he made yesterday. He said he has three tiers, three plans for what is needed in Ukraine in order to move forward with the coalition of the willing. And the first thing that Ukraine needs, according to Elensky, is ground troops. So that's the first thing that the UK and France need to provide, ground troops. The second thing that the UK and France need to provide is the patrol of the air. That's what Elensky said. A no-fly zone is what he's talking about. Patrolling the skies. That's the words that I want. And the final thing that Elensky said Ukraine needs is patrolling the Black Sea. That's right. Those three things are what the Europeans, what the UK and France need to provide to Ukraine. And that's what they're going to talk about in the meetings over the weekend. Churchill, Elensky. So Hungary is pulling out of the ICC. It is official. Hungary says it's withdrawing from the ICC as Israeli leader visits. So Benjamin Netanyahu arrived in Hungary. He's got the ICC warrant, and Hungary said, come to Budapest. Do not worry, we are not going to enforce this ICC warrant. And Netanyahu, he arrived in Budapest. And as he was in Budapest, we got the announcement from Balázs Orbán, who is I believe he is the chief of staff for the Viktor Orbán government. He said that Hungary has decided to withdraw from the International Criminal Court. The court's recent actions have undermined peace efforts by intervening in ongoing conflicts. Hungary remains committed to justice, but believes international organizations must serve peace, not politics. So there you have it. Hungary is officially out of the ICC, which would mean that Putin could also travel to Budapest if he wanted, I guess, right? Yeah. So the ICC is crumbling. It is crumbling. Let's do a couple of more stories. We'll wrap this video up. China has flying taxis. The first flying taxis are operating, received their certificates in China, like drone taxis. And the first thing that these drone flying taxis are going to do is they're going to take people on tourist flights and urban sightseeing, stuff like that. That's going to be the first function of these flying taxis, but they're here. They have arrived. Flying drone taxis in China. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. And clown worlds? Should we do some clown worlds? Do I have any other stories to talk about? Nope. So Cory Booker, Democrat, senator, He broke the record for the longest filibuster speech in history. This guy, man, I have to applaud him, man. What can I say? I can never do this. I would never be able to do this. I don't know how he did it. But he went on an anti-Trump rant, an anti-Trump speech. The whole speech was anti-Trump. This is like peak TDS. But he did it for 25 hours and I believe 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And he broke the record straight. 25 hours and 5 minutes straight speaking in Congress. That's pretty incredible, I have to admit. It's pretty crazy because all he did is talk about Orange Man bad for 25 hours. So you have to be pretty messed up to be able to do that. But man, for 25 hours, that's pretty incredible. Crazy, but also incredible. Oh boy. The foreign minister of Ukraine, what's this dude's name? Not Kuleba, the new guy. Andrei Sybiga. Andrei Sybiga. No one knows who he is. No one cares who he is. He's the new guy, the new foreign minister who took over for Kuleba. Andrei Sybiga, he was speaking at a press briefing, and he confirmed that there is a new round of talks with Ukraine and the U.S. on the rare earth minerals deal. My God, the rare earth minerals deal. So he confirmed that the U.S. and Ukraine are talking about renegotiating the rare earth minerals deal. And he said, and I quote, "The Ukrainian side is committed to concluding a document that would serve the national interests of both the United States and America." He didn't correct himself, by the way. He didn't catch this mistake. It happens. It happens. Let's not be too hard on whatever this foreign minister's name is. Mistakes like this happen. But he does kind of have a point. whatever they decide on as they renegotiate the minerals deal for the 100th time, whatever the deal comes out to be, absolutely is going to benefit the United States and America. You know which country it's not going to benefit? Ukraine. And we'll do one more clown world. And Schultz, Pirate Schultz, is Pirate Schultz no more. He is now hockey star Schultz. He was at some sort of an exhibition in Hanover, from what I understand. And he took a shot against a robot goalie. A Canadian robot goalie. And let's just say that hockey star Schultz is pretty bad. He is not very athletic. Hockey star Schultz. Oh my God. That is the weakest shot I have ever seen, man. Come on, Schultz. Come on. Oh man. Trudeau, you idiot. All right, so that is it. That's the video. Here's a meme for everybody with Elensky saying, "We are going to steal 10% more of the money that America gives us." That's right, America. You put 10% tariffs on Ukraine, well, the Green Goblin's going to steal 10% more. Keep things balanced, right? Keep things equal. Don't worry, Podolyak, about this 10% tariff. I will take 10% more. That's the video. TheDuran.local.com. We are on Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and X. Go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch. like what I'm wearing in this video update. The link is in the description box down below. 15% off all merch. Use the code SPRING15. Take care.